what would I create that solves a problem? I need to be in the middle of tantrums with my kids to get inspired to create.
Welcome to Conversations with Loulou. Inspired by her own experience as a first-time mother, my guest Sarah Shama founded Citron, a company that creates sustainable mealtime products for the family. Since launching in 2017, Citron offers over 200 products selling across 20 countries. We're going to learn about Sarah's journey from consultant to investor to entrepreneur and her experience in manufacturing products while bootstrapping her company. We're also going to learn about her plans and what it takes to build Citron into a leading global brand. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me today.
It'll be great to start with your journey that led you to entrepreneurship, basically. So I've said in my introduction that you have been a consultant, an investor, and then an entrepreneur. So maybe take us through some of the highlights that have led you or prepared you to where you are today.
So basically, I came to Dubai in 2008. I started as in investment banking, went to consulting, and then was working in strategy and investments at MBC. And I've never thought of myself of ever being an entrepreneur, what that even means, because I worked with so many entrepreneurs and I knew how hard it was. And all I was thinking to myself is I would make sure I would never go there because it's too much work. And then in 2016, I had my son. And he just happened to be the fussiest eater on earth. So when the time came and I had to drop him at nursery, he never wanted his food to touch. And I had to pack so many small boxes and send him with so many different lunch boxes, so many ideas. And it was really challenging for me, but also for the teachers that needed to open so many boxes because the child would refuse to eat if strawberry touched his cucumbers. He won't eat any. So while having a simple discussion with a friend, I still remember saying, I can't believe we live in Dubai where everything is available. There is not one lunchbox with compartments. And then he said, what do you mean lunchbox with compartments? So I was literally drawing. And he said, what if I put you in touch with somebody in China and just draw something for him? He knows the factories and let him work on it. So this is exactly how the idea of the lunchboxes started. And while doing this, for me, it was a fun thing I was doing to solve my son's problem, where I was convinced we were 1% of the moms with unlucky fussy eaters, and just have fun and remove my head from corporate. We got the prototype after 18 months, tested it on my son, he loved it, and we brought them to Dubai. We brought about 3,000 pieces back in the days. I didn't have an Instagram page, I didn't have a photographer, I had nothing. And I didn't even have the knowledge of how to sell a product to people. Because remember, I'm corporate, I know how to do Excel and PowerPoint. So basically, we sent an email, I remember back in the days to Mom's Word and Souk at that time, and Spree, and said, I have this product, do you want them? And they said, yeah, sure, we can list them on a consignment basis. I'm like, sure, perfect. And we actually sold out within 3 weeks. And they called and said, okay, now we need 11,000 for in 2 months. And I said, no, what do you mean? That was just a fun project. I didn't realize that I was not the only mom with the problem. And a lot of kids and moms were very grateful to have a product that made their life easier. And this is where I found myself really enjoying the process and feeling very fulfilled, because I found myself solving a problem for someone else and impacting somebody else's life. And this is how the journey started.
Okay. So what do you think? So you were an accidental entrepreneur. Basically, you didn't want to build $1 billion business. You didn't want to, exit to some big player coming from abroad. You were just trying to solve a problem.
It was like so basic that when I tell the story sometimes, we all did business schools and helped entrepreneurs to build business plans and make sure they know their numbers, their niche, their market, everything. I didn't do nothing of that. All I did is create a product from a real need. And I think when you go from the product rather than from the money perspective, I never thought of profits, I never thought of margins. I didn't even know how much to charge to the end user, because I knew the product costed me X, and I'm like, okay, what is a good margin to get? And then as the years and as we started developing and having people and needing to pay salaries and stuff, we needed to increase our margin so we could pay for these things. But at the beginning, all this was not important for me because it was just a fun side project.
Fun side project. So at what point, let's take a step back for a second. So let's talk a little bit about manufacturing, because I don't know, if I think about it, it's something very daunting, right? I think, and maybe a lot of people have ideas, actually not maybe, I'm sure a lot of people have ideas, 99.99% of them don't act on them. So, but, and I'm basically in the startup on the technology side, and this is the business that I've built as well. So it's a bit, it's less tangible, it's more intangible, right? You're building code and you're mostly working in an office and you offer services online. But for you, it's different, right? You had to actually find a manufacturer, you had to actually design a prototype. So can you take us through how daunting this journey was, or did it come very easy, or you had challenges?
Something I keep on saying, and I repeat it here, I think ignorance is a blessing. That's probably my favorite word, because if one would really go and see what are the steps we follow to get a product to be approved and listed on a shelf, they probably won't do it, as you said, rightly so. If the more you know, it's complicated, and then you take a step back. But at that point of time, I didn't know. All I knew is that I needed to do a product for my son. And then once we started and it picked up, then we started learning as it goes. So manufacturing, so we manufacture all our products in China.
But how did you start? Like, I'm interested to learn, so you said a friend of yours connected you to someone in China?
Yes.
And then what did you do?
So basically, he was in touch with me probably on a weekly basis with like...
The person in China?
The person is China, who is French.
Okay.
But lives...
French person in China. Okay.
French person in China that lives in China. His job is to find the right factories for the right products you want to do. But what we were doing did not exist. So for us to find the factories, we had to have technical drawings, we need to have a lot of information that personally I had no idea of. If you tell me we're doing a lunchbox with a plastic, what type of plastic you want to use? Does it go to the microwave or no? Does it go to the dishwasher or no? Is it safety for UK standard or for US standard or for French standard? Everything is different. And obviously I had no idea. All I kept on saying, we would like, who are the strictest in the world? And they would always say, it's the Germans. So from now on, I said, okay, all my products would be on German standards, because I assumed that they're the strictest, so I want to follow them. So a lot of questions I was answering by just a lot of common sense and not knowing exactly. So luckily that agent that I had in China helped me a lot, finding the right factory. And then once we sourced the factory and we knew them, so usually the factories have an in-house design team as well that takes your designs and make sure they can produce them, because a lot of time they need to have the right machinery to actually create the mold. So basically any product you see that you want to create, we create a mold first, and then the mold goes in the machine, they put the material, and then your product is out. It sounds very simple, but it's not. It took us 18 months to get a prototype that works.
Wow, 18 months for a prototype.
For a prototype.
A prototype is a mold that you're happy with?
Happy with, it opens, my son can open it, I can wash it easily. I see that it's not too big, it's not too heavy, it can hold a minimum food amount that was good enough for a kid at his age going to nursery. So it was very much my son, myself, and that guy. That's it, nobody else. And throughout this journey, I learned a lot, because they were coming back and forth asking questions, and I had to come up with the answers as the client. And actually one of the questions I had to answer at the end was, what do you want to print? What logo you want? Do you want to put your name? And I said, yeah, for sure. And they said, what name? And send us your logo. And I'm like, what name? What logo? What company? No, I don't have any. and
so you didn't think about building a brand while you were building the prototype?
No.
Okay.
The idea was really just to sort the problem for that kid at that moment, I was surrounded by moms that were telling me their kids eat everything. They don't have those type of issues. It was not a trend to send kids as of today. You don't think of sending your kid with a normal lunchbox because we see compartments everywhere. But 5 years ago, it was not the case.
Okay.
So it was much harder, and I thought truly that I was solving a personal problem that nobody thought of. But the truth is, now that I know, everybody likes a compartment lunchbox because it's easier, it's cleaner, and it makes it look appealing. Although, even if the kid eats everything, the moms still prefer to pack it. It's tidier and stuff. So, but at that time, no, that was not the idea. It was just sorting his problem. But the Chinese factories, when you create your mold, they have a minimum order quantity. So then they tell you, for me to turn on the machine and create your product, you need to produce 3,000 pieces, is a minimum. Not only produce 3,000, 3,000 one color. And I was like, what do you mean 3,000 one color? I can't do 3,000 one color. Like, how would I know what color would work? And then they said, okay, fine, since it's your first order, what we can do for you is we can give you, we have so the factories buy the tint, right, that they put on the plastic. They said, we already bought those tints for another client that ordered something else, so we can use them for you. And I'm like, yeah, sure. So they gave me probably things that they had in their factories that nobody wanted, and obviously I had no idea, but I had like a very ugly pink, a very dark purple, a mix of navy blue with yellow. I mean, everything was wrong. So you know that I have not done it with the purpose to build a business, but rather just to solve. I mean, for me, it was a fun project. I'm solving my son's project and I'm doing something outside of corporate.
Were you still working at the time?
Yes.
Oh, wow. So that was a side project.
It was for a very long time, actually. I only left my job in 2020.
Do you recommend that for entrepreneurs?
I think for me, it depends what you're trying to build and your bandwidth and the type of work, a lot of things, and how comfortable you are with your company to do this or not. But I do recommend taking small steps and testing if you can. And I do recommend always going from just an idea to a prototype, no matter what it is. Some people need to fully resign to just be focused and do something. But again, for me, it was just fun. Literally, I didn't know that I would have so much fun creating a new product. I didn't know that creating a product could be fun. I didn't even know what it meant. It's such a different thing because corporate, again, is just Excel sheets and PowerPoint. So it is a different word.
So, but I mean, it worked. You did sell. You said you sold the first 3,000.
So yeah, the story
of the colors.
Irrespective of the colors. And this is where, you created the product that was in need, because really you hit on something. So once we sold out, the e-commerce who we're working with started calling us, and their numbers showed that by Q4 they would have a huge pickup with like all the White Friday, Black Friday and stuff like that. And they needed the SKUs that really worked to be more available in that 3 months. And this is where they started calling. And then I found myself really enjoying the process of creating and I feeling happy that people would send us emails and say, oh, thank you, thanks to you, my son ate better at school and stuff like that. It really made me happy. It was not the money element I ever thought of. It was really the impact. And then I said, okay, kids take a lunchbox and a snack box. So we created a small version of the lunchbox in a snack size so the kids can also have compartments in snack time. Then again, coming from my son, I realized that most of the water bottles in the region were not insulated for kids. Most of the brands insulate the water bottles to keep the water cold for adults because they come from the US and Europe, where kids don't usually need an element to keep his water cool because their temperature are just at a normal level. So we went ahead and said, okay, what if I create an insulated bottle for kids, which seems super basic, but if you have a kid in Dubai, you know what I mean. You forget the water bottle in the car and he comes back and he's thirsty and it's a tantrum. So you'd be like, you can't drink it, it's too hot, it's disgusting, and all that stuff. So we created the first water bottle that was insulated, targeting kids. And again, the uptake was massive. And every single time we try to create products to uplift the lives of people and not necessarily to copy anybody or anything. And the more we do it, the more we see that the products really work and we sell more and more. As of today, we have about 13 patents, and not only design... 13. Not only design patents, also technicalities of things that we have changed. For example, if you think of a food jar, before it was to be a thread mechanism, you know, where the kid like is struggling to open it, and then we worked with the factories and our product designer team to actually make it in one lock opening system. So the kid would just unlock it and then it stays hot. Everything is the same. It's just going above and beyond, trying to solve real problems rather than just trying to copy or do something that already exists. So this is what we go with.
And I think that shows a lot, because, you know, when I became a mother for the first time, I think every mother on the planet wants the best for her kids, no questions asked. And I think because you're doing it for your own child, that's why you didn't care about maybe, okay, how much profit I'm going to make out of it. And maybe that's why you went for the highest standards, the highest quality, the best material, nice designs, etc.
Yes.
And I think maybe a lot of people, some people, entrepreneurs might not have that luxury to do that, or maybe the choice. But the fact that you did that, I think probably that's part of why your brand's so successful.
I think so. And a lot of time we say very bluntly, whatever I won't give to my kids, I won't sell. So it's for me 100%, and 99.9% of my colleagues are women. So we have about 22 people working for us, and most of them are working moms, a lot of them that were out of the workforce and came back. And between us, we have such a big segment of testers, which are our own kids. And we all go back to the same conclusion. If your kid was able to break it after 6 uses, it's not good enough. We know that our kids broke it, but it has to be kids-proof, because when you buy it, you're not thinking of in your mind, I'm going to change it after 2 months. I need to guarantee you that it will stand the falls of a kid X number of times. So we are always thinking above and beyond and trying to go into the very difficult pieces where a lot of big brands are not going, because they're probably very busy making a lot of money of you know, products that work and you don't easily go. But for example, this year we're launching a first lunchbox that keeps the food hot. So the whole box stays hot without the need of a microwave or anything, and stays, so it will stay lukewarm after 6-7 hours and really hot after 4 hours. And by doing that, we went above and beyond, because we go to the factories and they said, if this was possible, somebody else would have done it. It's impossible. And we were like, we're dumb. We don't understand. We have engineers with us that say it's possible, and it costed us hundreds of thousands of dollars to crack, but we cracked it, and it's launching in July, and I just think it's going to be a fantastic product to make people's life easier. But you gotta break a lot of, I mean, I was just saying this recently, I was trying to put a car seat for my daughter in my car, and I was like, why are we in 2022 and still nobody has found a way to put a car seat easily? And I'm like sweating, it's hot, and I'm fighting with the car seat. So I think when we see those type of problems, and if anyone comes and tells you, I'm giving you a car seat that is as secure as anything else, but with the one click, it will click on its own, you're probably going to take it because it makes your life easier. But when a car seat is designed by a man that does not use the car seat, is a very different perspective. So what we are designing from an end user perspective. Not from a design perspective, that it looks nice, it's pretty, it's gonna sell on the shelves because it looks nice. No, we want it to be nice, but also to work. Functionality is super important for me.
Could have been designed by men actually, because it's only my husband that can figure out how to put the car seat.
100%. I always say that to my husband.
I can't do it for the life of me. It's just so hard.
I always say that. I said I can guarantee.
And they're heavy and bulky and everything.
And they're hard, right? It's yeah. I mean, I think as we give more room for creative design and for women to be more involved in creating products, and we're seeing it, we're able to create products that speak to us. I can never do things for like gyms, or a lot of people say, can you do those protein shake things? I said, I don't understand what is their problem with what they're having right now. What would I create that solves the problem? I need to be in the middle of tantrums with my kids to get inspired to create.
So we can see, okay, so I can see the Citroën product line expanding as your son gets older, right? So then you solve problems for 10-year-olds and to teenagers.
Yes, we are launching this year actually a big teenager range. It was the most amazing experience because we invited a lot of teenagers to our office to focus groups, and so we first took the moms alone to understand what was the issue with feeding their teenagers at school and stuff. And then we took the teenagers without their parents and asked them questions. And the outcome was they were just at different levels of, you just feel they were not speaking the same language because the parents still wanted their kids to eat healthy and to have a lunchbox. And the kids grew to a level where say, we just need to have a sandwich from the cafeteria. What is the big deal? Just give me money. I'm going to sort out my food. And you just could see that the needs were different. So if you were to design from the mom's perspective, we'd probably have a product that wouldn't work. Because the kids don't want it. The mom would buy it, but nobody would use it. So we had to take a totally different perspective on the teens. It was very, very interesting.
And you said, so is it, I assume, you said your team is 99% women, so that's by design, right?
I tend to really, really like to have women around me. I just think that we work differently.
Interesting.
I have I have few men, a driver, operations, warehouse and stuff, because by nature, I can't see a woman lifting boxes and doing these things. Maybe it won't be appealing to women to do it. Maybe they would, but in general, we still need men in our lives. But usually I like to have more women just because they understand the product more. Most of them are mothers. The ones that are not mothers may never be mothers because all we say is the problems we face with our kids, so we can make the product.
Them.
So a lot of time the younger ones are like, don't worry, maybe you'll have the perfect kid that eats everything and is not breaking anything. But yeah, it's mainly women and it's mainly moms.
Can you name a few things maybe that you take from consulting or from investing that have helped you?
So a lot of 80-20 rule. So a lot of my decisions are not made on 100% correct and everything.
So can you explain to our audience what do you mean by that?
Yeah, a lot of time you take decisions, like small decisions that could impact your business at a big scale. So imagine I need to produce an item where I'm not 100% sure whether it will be sold or no. Instead of me spending 100% of my time for a small problem, I just decide that with my gut feeling, I'm going to go ahead for it and I'm going to focus my time on finding ways to sell it. So it's a lot of reverse engineering, using all the techniques we have learned from corporate to actually take decisions very quickly and focus on finding ways for it to work, rather than first thinking whether it will work, will not work, let me not order, let me wait, let me take risks. It is just reverse engineering a lot. I also learned that a lot of times 100% correct answers don't exist, and we as human beings cannot be experts at everything. So again, if someone comes to me and say, we need to do XYZ, we need to do this campaign for back to school, and we need to hire a very expensive photographer, and we need to fly there, and we need to do this and stuff, my brain always goes back as, okay, let me break it in small pieces. What is the problem we're trying? But without me talking to myself, it's just because when we work in consulting, this is the type of problems you get, huge problem that comes to you, and with so many elements, unless you break it down into small things you can do, then it looks like it's impossible to do. So a lot of things that were achieved in my business were because I usually break things down into very, very small pieces, and I'm able to make them one by one rather than the whole thing.
I fully agree to that. Actually, I remember in 2011, I was studying for the CFA. And I remember I got the books. I had 6 massive books. And I looked at them and I was going to have an anxiety attack maybe. And I was chatting to my husband and he goes, it's okay, book 1, page 1, you know, and get started one by one. I think if you think about the magnitude of whatever you want to do, you'd probably freak out. But if you break it down into manageable pieces,
then it becomes doable.
So what about investing? So you were investing in tech startups. I'm sure you've seen a lot. You were investing at the time where investing wasn't as, let's say, or when funds weren't as available as they are today. You have a lot of competition today in terms of angel groups and venture capital firms from here, from abroad, etc. So it was different times, I think, back then.
Yeah. I think back then our biggest challenge was to find startups in the region that could have great ideas. A lot of time we had amazing entrepreneurs, but they were not used to venture capital or to even investors. So we were not at the same level. A lot of time would say, what if I invest in this startup? Can he at least give me quarterly reports? Mm-hmm. Can he, I mean, his idea is brilliant and for sure he can do it, but we were such at a very, very, very far stage than where we are today, where people are much more polished. The entrepreneurs know what they're doing. They come with like solid backgrounds. Now we had a very, very different moment. And we did good investments. Like العربي was one of our best investments. It was really, really good. And they were really small at that time. So we saw the growth and we saw something really big. But yeah, it was a different time.
So you went, so you know the game, right? You know what VCs look for. Yeah. You've seen it many times. You've invested in entrepreneurs, and then all of a sudden you've built your business, which is not a tech business. So it's not the sexy thing that everybody wants to put money in. So how was your fundraising experience?
So after we built the business and I had my twins in November 2019. At that point, I had...
Are they fussy eaters?
One yes, one no.
Okay. You have other problems you want to solve for?
Other problems that are coming with the twins, actually.
Okay.
This double buying is a big problem.
Car seats for twins.
Everything for twins works. But basically, after I had my maternity leave, I started seeing that Citron has taken really well. At the end of 2019...
Were you still working with MBC at the time?
Yes, okay. Yes. By the end of December 2019, I think Citron... So I had 3 people work full-time there, and one of them was managing the whole thing because I couldn't manage being pregnant with twins plus Citron plus MBC. So a lot of things from Citron were not moving as fast as they would move right now. But I had the team working on that, so I was not super involved, but still maybe on weekends and evenings and stuff. But at the end of 2019, we had already sold about 100,000 units. And the revenues for 2019 alone were almost, I think, $1 million. So at that point, I said, okay, this business is showing that it has some potential. I'm pregnant with those 2 girls, and they're probably going to be my last kids. And I want to just enjoy my time with them and give a little bit more time to Citron. So when I went back from my maternity leave, I went back to MBC for, I would say, a few months. And then I realized I couldn't do it. I didn't find the energy in me to not sleep at night and wake up and do all that, and plus be in corporate, and plus have every now and then someone bugging me from Citron, they need this or they need that. So I just said, I'm going to focus on my kids and I'm going to focus on Citron. I'm going to make it my plan A. That transition was not really hard, to be honest, because as I said, I already knew that something was happening there.
Well, $1 million is
obviously I had no idea.
Right? A lot of entrepreneurs with zero, they think, I should jump into it. So you did. I mean, $1 million is a big milestone.
Yeah, and for me, again, coming from a corporate where I hear the hundreds and the billions is just $1 million, it's nothing. So then I started realizing that it was a big deal later on. So I resigned, and obviously 2020 happens where Corona hits. I'm very grateful to be with my kids at home and see them grow and everything. But the business really took a big hit because kids did not go back to school. And about 60% of our business is related to back to school because parents usually buy new lunchbox and water bottles and stuff for school. So at that point of time, I decided that I needed to fundraise.
Of great timing, huh?
Yeah, I mean, everything was perfect. I went ahead and I started contacting VCs. So luckily I had contacts of every single VC you can think of the region. So they were all answering and being very nice and taking calls and telling me, Sarah, you know, our LPs give us mandates and our mandates is tech. And this is nowhere close to any tech element. So I may have spoken to maybe 80, 90 VCs in the region, outside of the region, and all of them had the same answer. And finally, I think I spoke to Arzan Capital in Kuwait, who saw something different because they invested in a few D2C brands. And they said, okay, we like what you're doing. We think there is a huge potential and we want to invest. So they did come in, took the full round, invested. And
when was that?
Last year, 2021.
So it took you about a year, basically, of...
Yeah. Talking, when you sign the term sheet and the money comes, due diligence takes time. I mean, a lot of people don't realize, but it does take time from the minute you start until the minute it's in your bank account, because you're not as you said, a sexy tech startup that is doing Web 3.0 and all those fancy words that I actually don't understand. So after that happened, we took the money, we hired the people, and we went on a very aggressive growth plan. Basically, as you know, the fundraising is always based on milestones, and a lot of...
What do you mean you didn't get the money? How much did you...
we raised $1 million.
Okay.
And we got the money, but it had milestones, right? So you have half, when we invest, we give you half, and then 25%.
That's not the norm though, is it?
We used to do it at NBC as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't seen that though.
Yeah, there you go. So a lot of time is based on milestones. So then, as we were growing, so imagine that 2019 we had almost $1 million. 2020 we had 300,000. So we crashed, and this is where we were fundraising, where a lot of time I was thinking the investors would say, "What if you were just lucky last year and by now your product died?" So and what type of valuation they're gonna give you when you're like crashed? But luckily they were very nice and they valued based on 2019 and 2021. Projections rather than 2020. So all that happened.
How was it valued as a multiple of your revenue or some other valuation?
A lot of things. So we're cash flow positive. So you can look at multiples, you can do a small DCF, you can do a mix of two. Okay. So they have played around with the two. So we got the money, we hired the team, and we said, okay, let's speed up. Our target was to reach $2 million in 2021. I think we ended up at about 2.1 million. And then at that point, we knew that it was not anymore Citron UAE. We started signing distributors all over the world. We went ahead and spent quite a lot in marketing and started seeing that our D2C became bigger and bigger and bigger.
Direct to consumers.
Direct to consumers.
So these are people coming straight to your website
and buying. Okay. We opened the store last year in Times Square Mall here in Dubai. And the idea of the store was to offer an experience. It's a store where the kids slide in.
It looks very cute, by the way. I saw photos. I haven't visited, but I saw photos.
It is very built on, we're a brand that understands kids and build things from a kid's perspective. So everything is at their level. The play area is built with products they can open and play with. So the whole idea was different than just a retail store. So we did that, and we opened about 24 markets right now. And when I say we open markets, it's not just selling one order to a client. So we sign with very big distributors that have targets of sales on a yearly basis and target to build the brand in every market. So when I say in the UK, our distributor, we would be available in John Lewis, would be available in Harrods, would be available in Next. You go to France, it would be the big Galeries Lafayette and stuff like that. So we really choose big distributors that have the power to do these things. And so we're in Canada, we're in Mexico, everywhere. And the beauty is the world has evolved to a level where today they don't care that we're based in Dubai or that we're an Arab brand going to the West. All they want is that the product works and it's aesthetically pleasing. Because the minute they put it in the store and it sells so fast, they order again. And they don't ask in their mind, where is this coming from? Where is this brand from? And all that prototype. I mean, the way people had that in their mind is gone. Today, we're very lucky that the consumer wants a product rather than where it's coming from. And I want to support only the French products. I don't want to support something else. So we're very, very lucky that way. We continue to grow in terms of geographies. We have Japan, we have Asia. We are doing a fantastic job.
Do you travel a lot to these countries?
Used to.
Okay.
Not so much, but we were in Europe a few months ago to visit all our distributors. And we do a lot of fairs. So this year we have 4 fairs. And the fairs is where we showcase all our products and get a lot of interest and sign agreements and contracts with distributors. And yeah, I mean, this year we're doing a big collaboration with Sophie la Giraffe, the
These
teacher.
are the little kids.
Teachers. The giraffe teacher. It's a brand that exists from 1850, I think. A very, very old teeter brand, French one. And they have selected us to do all their feeding range. So on all their distributors will be offered our products, and then
That's great.
So a lot of things are happening to boost the brand and take it to another level and make it more of an international brand.
So I want to wrap up, Sarah, with a couple of questions maybe on the... Usually I don't like to talk about, women entrepreneurs and so on, but I think what you've done is amazing because usually a lot of people, not only women, by the way, but when they have a full-time job, they would say, I don't have time. But for you, not only that you had a full-time job, you had a baby and then you had twins. So there was so much going on in your life and you had to achieve in your job because obviously investing is not an easy job. And you were doing it all at the same time. So we're not also, I have 2 questions actually. The first question is, what kind of mindset did you have to basically push through and keep doing everything? And the other question is, what would you say to women that think that they can't do it or they're too tired? Maybe they're not even working. They're spending time at home and they think they can't do it because of whatever reason.
So for me, I've always been a doer. So I'm somebody that you can call hyper in terms of I don't mind working at 11 p.m. I don't mind. I mean, if you leave me alone at home, I'll always open my laptop and try to find things, ideas. I always get inspired by this. So I always loved creating, but I didn't know I could do it, as you rightly said. And the thing is, a lot of time you use this example. You start something and you're all of a sudden pregnant with it, right? Mm-hmm. I started somewhere. That agent was working with me for 18 months. I was not going to let him down because he told me all of a sudden it's 3,000 pieces at the beginning. If I knew maybe it was 3,000 from the beginning, maybe I wouldn't have gone crazy and done it because I would say, come on, I'm not going to do this. It's too much work. But as I learned in the process and I just said, okay, I'm not going to let him down. I started. I'm going to continue. I'm going to find a way. I always believed that no matter what was the problem in someone's life, there was a solution. So that's my mindset, usual. So we go back to, if I was to tell you create $1 billion company today, you would be like, oh wow, that's too big. How are we gonna do it? It's impossible. There are only few people, and you will have all the reasons that will come to your mind of how you won't be able to do it. Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, of saying, make something that makes you happy. Find something that makes you happy, anything, and just push it slowly, slowly until it becomes something big. Then all of a sudden, you're not working towards just a financial reward, but you're working on personal happiness. And I think my son loves this song saying, I'm on vacation, you know? Every single, he always sings that. Yeah. I feel that way. Since I left my full-time job, I felt I never worked again. I just feel every day I go and it's just pure fun. And I'm very grateful for that, because I didn't know that actually you could feel that way about a job.
So for women who are listening to this, then it is doable. Start small,
start something you love, and find something that really you find is fun. Because if you're going to go through entrepreneurship, and as you know, it's going to be a lot of issues and hurdles and stuff. So as much as you enjoy the core of it and you're having fun, whatever comes your way, you're going to find a way, because you enjoy it so much at the core that you want to protect it and you want to make sure it always stays that way. So, and for me, I have a lot of my friends that start businesses only to make money, which for me was never the case. I always said, I'm not doing it for the money, I'm doing it for another reason. So sometimes when people are just focused on, I need to make money, I need to make this work, they forget the whole purpose of what they're doing. So for me, look for what you're adding, what it is that excites you in life, to make someone happy, to change someone's life, or to make anything, and work on it, but not necessarily always starts with, I need this to be profitable in 3 months. It won't. There is no business, of course. Yes, and patience and being very consistent. Like even if it's making one small research on Google on a daily basis makes you closer and closer and closer. But give yourself 10 minutes a day, then half an hour, then 1 day, then half day. But be consistent. Like until today, I have 3 hours in a week that I need to be on my own with my laptop. Is my thinking for the whole week. Of anything I want to plan. I live on Excel sheets, so usually I plan everything in advance, and then I go to the week ready for anything that is out of my control, and I need to find a solution for it. But yeah, for me, just jump and do it. And a lot of time we say surround yourself by crazier people than yourself, because they will pull you up, and remove all the negative people that failed and they think that everything is negative in life. And I think surround yourself by positive people is something super important as well.
I think another lesson also from your experience is maybe, I think if you say to somebody, find something you love, people might struggle. I mean, maybe I might struggle with that. I'm thinking, what do I love, etc. But I think from your experience, something very interesting is solve a problem. You know, I mean, we all have kids, we all have jobs, we all have cars, we all have lots of things that we pets, we all have things that we interact with on a daily basis. So use your eyes, your ears, your senses, and try to find a problem worth solving.
100%. And I'm sure a lot of moms can resonate with what I'm saying, because while we're raising right now our Series A, we are talking to a lot of venture capital outside of the region, and they said that they've seen a lot of mompreneur trend grow up all over the world, where there were lots of brands and products coming from that perspective that are doing extremely well. So why not?
Yeah. I assume you have full support from your husband, from your family. Otherwise, I think it would be very difficult.
I have an amazing support system. My husband has been an entrepreneur for a very long time. Obviously, he's on the tech side, so we speak different languages. But we both of us started our businesses from a real personal need, and it ended up happening and working quite well. So he was very supportive. My parents were everybody was do what makes you happy and do it now. Don't wait until you're like 55 or 60 and you'll be like, oh, I regret. Don't live in regrets. Just do it. And if it doesn't work out, go back to your corporate job or do nothing. Whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Sarah. It was great to have you, really.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Conversations with Loulou. If you want to know more about Citron, you can visit citron.ae, citron.ae. Don't forget to visit the show's website as well, conversationswithloulou.com. And you can follow me on social channels at Loulou Khazem. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app so you get the latest episodes. If you're enjoying the show, we'd love to hear from you, and please consider leaving us a review. I wish you love, light, and see you in a few weeks.